be there. There was a
At the Rusty
meeting,
Pelican.
yeah, there was a meeting today for table captains, but they're rescheduling to Tuesday. Today it's Tuesday. They're rescheduling to the 20th.
I'm gonna have everyone identify themselves and speak where you're going to be speaking during the.
Do we need another chair?
Hello, come on in.
Hi.
Well, we only have two
I just watched.
mics, so
I'm good.
I'm
Okay.
probably not.
I'm not speaking.
She's just photographing.
Maybe I can put that right there. Is that about right? Is that
Works for
if
me.
you're comfortable?
Yep.
Can you slide in a little bit more? Maybe? Is that all right? And Sean, what's your title? Just
I am Sean Shaw. I'm a consumer advocate.
Okay. So what I think I might do is have you start out with explaining the problem, if
Okay.
that's all right, and then we'll move on over to Albert to tell your story. Is that gonna work?
That's fine, that's
All right, and Councilmember Monteleone, do you wanna speak on this
That's the
as
same
well?
order we did at the press conference, so that works fine.
So I don't have my talking points, but I think I got it.
Yeah, my printer didn't work this morning. I was winging it. Did I do okay, Allison, winging it?
You did great.
Oh, no.
Or just yours?
Although I shouldn't have used the word profitable, I realized after it left my mouth that was the wrong choice of words.
All right, one more time, beginning with Sean then, your name, your title, please,
Sean Shaw, consumer advocate.
and then Albert,
Albert Harris, claimant, unemployment claimant.
all right, and Councilmember Monteleone.
Lisa Monteleone, Council District 7, City Tampa.
All right. Why don't we begin then telling our listeners, reminding our listeners, they're somewhat familiar with this story. What is the issue with the state's unemployment website?
The state's unemployment website has had a myriad of problems. As you'll hear later, Mr. Army Reservist Harris here hasn't tried to get on the website to get his benefits, couldn't do it, the website doesn't work. There's been a period of time where you were unable to get on it. There's been a backlog as a result of that, so even when the website was working, now we have a backlog when it wasn't working. So it's just been one thing after the other, and it's a company that unfortunately has been rewarded for its bad conduct with another contract. So this is what we're trying to bring to light, pay-to-play culture here in Rick Scott's administration. It's a company that is well connected, but in terms of the quality of its work, as you can see from the website, it's not very good. And you know, I used to work in the state of Florida, so there's a lot of bid processes that have to happen, and they're very complicated. They're set forth in law. It's very specific about what that has to happen. And in this case, the process happened, and the two companies that were left, the cheapest one was not chosen. Everyone unanimously voted to approve that contract, and unfortunately, someone higher up decided that Deloitte would get the contract, even though they were the higher bidder. And they had a record of having a bad website. So it's when something smells bad, it usually is, especially when you're dealing with Tallahassee.
What is the connection between Deloitte and the governor?
Well, Deloitte's lobbyist, Mr. Brian Ballard, is a very big fundraiser for the governor. And that's about as direct as we can let everybody else make their own connections, but that's the connection.
I want to speak with Albert Harris about your experiences. You were seeking unemployment compensation. You went to the website, and what happened?
Basically, I applied for benefits the end of September. I was told the website was under construction. So around October 13th, I applied for those benefits, and basically they told me took a couple weeks to process. I basically waited a couple weeks. Nothing really happened at all. Nothing came of light. Then I pretty much tried to call DEO, and I was told that there was a glitch in the system, that all the basically if you had an old disqualification from your old claim, it carried over, even though I was qualified to receive those benefits.
So it ended up where you weren't receiving benefits, but you should have been.
Yes.
About how much did that cost you?
That costed me probably around $4,000.
And is the state trying to make up the difference?
I don't believe so at all.
And what would you like to happen?
Pretty much, pick a better company that it can fix those problems versus making them more.
Tampa City Council member Lisa Monteleone, what do you make of this whole issue?
Well, Sean, we work very, very hard to try and instill taxpayer confidence. And if you talk to anyone, pretty much they have a very low confidence level in how their taxpayer dollars are being spent. It's very frustrating from a local elected official when I read especially the letters to the editors in our two newspapers here, and I read all of these comments about how elected officials aren't trustworthy and how we're not good stewards of their taxpayer dollar. And then something like this, where we have thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who can't receive a benefit because of a contract that was awarded and a contractor who can't perform, it really destroys that confidence level. And we work at a local level so hard to make sure that our contracts at the city, anybody who follows city council or watches the proceedings, we have very, very hard on our contract administration division to make sure that policies are being followed, that the bid process is transparent and fair and accountable, and that the companies that are awarded work can perform at the level they say they can perform. And to have a story like this coming out of Tallahassee just erodes all of the hard work that we do here locally. So it's very frustrating, and having been someone who received unemployment benefits, it was quite some time ago, and it wasn't under this administration with this particular problem. But I can say that, from a person who relied on those checks to pay, to keep a roof over my head and to pay the insurance that I had to carry at the time was very, very expensive, to put food on the table. It's very sad. I co-hosted a job fair just a couple of weeks ago, and the numbers of people that showed up were staggering to me, and I got to speak to a lot of them. We had 1,031 people come through the door looking for jobs, and they were professional people with advanced degrees who had been out of work for a very, very long time. Folks brought their kids with them because they can't afford to hire a babysitter to come to a job fair. We still are leading. The state is the leading, one of the leading states in having long-term unemployment. Although we're doing much better here in the Tampa Bay area, this is not typical of the rest of the state of Florida.
And finally, I want to ask just a little, what happens next in this process? What can people do, and what is the government likely to do?
Well, what people can do is keep this in mind when you go to the ballot box. Elections have consequences, and you need to have elected officials who you do have confidence in. And listen, people are very aware of what's going on in Tallahassee. That's why we see the poll numbers that we just saw, where Rick Scott is just looking very bad in all kinds of public confidence polls. It's because it doesn't take much to get a good contract in his administration. Apparently all you have to do is donate to his campaign or hire the right lobbyist. And that's not how business ought to be done in Tallahassee. When I worked there, like I said, it was a very complicated process, and we put in a lot of checks and balances so this wouldn't happen. But when you can just override decisions and the right connected people can get the contracts, that's not how your taxpayer money ought to be spent. When someone like Mr. Harris serves our country with honor and distinction and his state fails him, that's something people need to keep in mind when they go to the ballot box.
Thanks so much for all of your time. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Let's save this before we get going.
Something about being on the radio makes me cough. Last time I was here, I was with Rob Laura, and I don't remember the topic, but I was so sick. I had an awful cold, and I coughed